We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. Dave here with Casey, and we are the football dudes. Are you ready, brother?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's an area which we call the trend zone. It is Tuesday, February 13th. We're coming at you from Los Angeles, California, and it is a beautiful 63 degrees here and sunny. A little cool, but not bad. Pretty nice day out there. I'll tell you what. In today's episode, we will talk about some Super Bowl viewership that is out of this world. The former DC is now the HC in DC, and we'll tell you who the new DC in DC is. We already know who is the favorite to win Super Bowl 59, and we'll give you some important dates for all of the NFL offseason happenings, as well as, of course, recap Super Bowl 58. But before we get to all of that good stuff, Casey, let's get it started with a tasty nug for the people. What you got?
Yeah. According to Nielsen, yeah, and the Adobe, can you say Adobe Analytics, the Chiefs' overtime victory over the Niners in Super Bowl 58 averaged 123.7 million viewers
Damn.
across TV and streaming platforms, shattering Shadoobie, the 115.1 million Kansas City victory over Philadelphia last year, Dave.
Wow. Very
And
impressive.
the game televised CBS, Nickelodeon, Univision, streamed on Paramount plus NFL digital platforms. Over 200 million. Okay, that's a 10% jump over 183 last year, dude. And believe it or not, 20% of Super Bowl viewers were rooting for the Chiefs because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure that I was going to say that's got to explain the bump in viewers, right?
yeah, it had
The
nothing to
additional
do,
Swifties who tuned in.
yeah, with the actual game. And Dave, the playoffs, they averaged 38.5 million viewers during the first 3 weekends. That's up almost 10% from last year. So NFL to the moon, Dave.
Yeah.
Speaking of the moon,
Yeah, that's right. Besides the moon landing, Casey itself, 9 out of the 10 of the most watched telecasts of all time are Super Bowls. So there you have it. Just
Dave,
wait, of course, Casey,
yeah, tell me
until the
what.
Cowboys play the Chargers in Super Bowl 59. Oh, yeah, we're going to shatter it. When we invite the Swifties along.
Yeah, they're welcome, Dave. Everybody's welcome. Football dudes, welcome everybody in.
It's beautiful, man. Casey, big money changing hands. Not just at my house for the big old Super Bowl party over here. We're talking real money.
Yeah, more than 185.6 million was bet on Super Bowl 58. Um,
Wow.
that also eclipsed the previous high by nearly 6 million that came in last year, Dave. All these new gaming books, ESPN bet, all of this stuff, it's
Swifties,
helping
Casey,
contribute to
with a
that.
lot of money,
Oh yeah,
betting
they were
those Travis Kelsey prop bets.
That's right. And what color was the Gatorade? Purple.
Of course it was. I had that one, of course.
Yeah.
All right, Casey. What about the Super Bowl commercials? Everybody knows they are quite a bit of money. Were they worth the investment for them? Which one stood out to you?
Well, stood out in a bad way was Jesus washing everybody's feet. I don't know what the hell that was to start out. It's like, what? Come on now. Freaking me out a little
He
bit. But
gets
I
us,
have to
man.
say, my favorite was the Dunkin' Donuts with Ben Affleck and company, J-Lo, Matt Damon, Twommy. Pretty dope. And they made those jumpsuits, turned around and sold out all of them. So an initial and immediate ROI on that 7 milli. So some winners, some losers. Duncan. Duncan on the Jesus feet commercial for the win.
Yeah, that was a fun one, Casey. Yeah, I agree. Um, Nothing really stood out to me, Casey, except that halftime show. I'll tell you, I was glued.
Oh yeah, Dave is big Usher fan. Loves Usher.
Big Usher fan. All right, Casey. Trend Zone, the show you are listening to now, available for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast. Casey, we're going to move it into the top trending stories here. The coaching carousel has been chaotic, to say the least. It's been spinning around hectically, but it's slowing and finally seemingly coming to a stop here with the Dallas Cowboys, Casey. What do you got for us? I like Mike. What about you, Case?
I like Mike too, baby. old faces in old places. Mike Zimmer coming back to the Cowboys as a spry 67, mind you. He's been on the Cowboys staff before, kind of worked his way up from 94 to 2006, started as a defensive assistant, then a D-backs coach, and he was the D-backs coach in the last season when the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. So we're getting the
Hello.
band back together. Was under Dave Campo and Bill Parcells before he got out there and had a pretty successful run, especially with the Vikes. He is a no-nonsense dude. You'll never see him wearing his hat backwards like DQ did, who was kind of your buddy, who's your uncle.
Yeah, he's more like a grumpy old man, get off my lawn kind of guy, but he knows how to coach. Like you said,
Yep.
really a successful duration of time down there in Minnesota. And a dude knows what he's doing on the defensive side of the football. So this is going to be pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, bringing a rough edge to the Cowboys, something that's been missing. Nobody ever accuses the Cowboys of being a tough team, whether that's real or just perception. But perception is reality until you get something done about it. So I think it's a great fit. Big Mike's only got 1 year left on the contract. So I don't know if this is where you jump in and grab one of these new young coordinators. We let some talent get away, but I like Zim. Seems to be, going well with the Cowboy voices there. So it's exciting. Let's see what happens. And, can we just stop the run? That'd be a great place to start.
Yeah, no question. And, like you said, getting the band back together. Also, McCarthy's last stand here, might as well bring somebody in that really works for the organization. And if it doesn't work, then you hit the eject button at the end of the season, and it's an overall reset.
Why would you do that, Dave? We're in Super Bowl 59
Oh
against
yeah,
your
that's right.
Chargers.
Yeah. It's a repeat. Bring everybody back. Speaking of the Super Bowl, Casey, the odds are trickling out for next year's Super Bowl. Favorites have emerged. Just imagine these teams are. Who puts these teams at the top? Oh well, I mean Vegas does. That's it.
Yeah, the disrespect just won't stop for the Chiefs. They're already underdogs because
Yeah.
the Niners are the favorites to win, coming in at plus 500. Chiefs right behind at plus 750, followed by the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions, my Dallas Cowboys at 7th, followed by the Eagles, the Dolphins, and the Packers.
Yeah, how about my Chargers at 12th at plus 2,500? Pretty good payday there. But thanks a lot, Vegas, for putting a chip on Kansas City's shoulder again. Set them up. Oh, everybody's rooting. Nobody says
Nobody
the Chiefs
believes
can
in them,
do it.
Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a fucking break. Oh, jeez. All right.
Count them out.
Yeah, they have no chance. They'll just be in their 7th straight AFC Championship game and winning the division 9 years in a row, or the hell it is. Okay, good thing it's the offseason, Casey. We've got time to breathe. And obviously, the offseason calendar for the NFL keeps us actually looking forward to that next big event. And that next big event is free agency. When does free agency start? What do we need to know, Casey?
Dave, there's no more hibernating in the offseason. This thing is going constantly. March 5th is the franchise and transition tender deadline. And then March 11th through the 13th is the tampering period.
Oh,
And then on March 13th, the NFL league year begins. Free agent signing period begins. Trading opens up. And then just a couple weeks later, the 24th to the 27th of March, are the NFL annual meetings. Dude, free agency right around the corner, bro. We're a month away, actually, today. Boom, come on.
yeah, not bad at all. How about April 1st? New head coaches can begin their off-season programs. 8 new head coaches out there this year, so actual football practice on April Fool's Day. It's no joke. 2 weeks later, on April 15th, all the returning head coaches will be back at it, and then the draft April 25th through the 27th, live from Detroit, Michigan, where everything's happening nowadays.
Oh, yeah, that is going to be sweet. And we got the combine finishing up this month strong. And then May 2nd, 5th-year option deadline. So some clubs are going to have to make choices, but there's a lot of tasty free agents out there, Dave. Just a couple defenders out here. Nick Bosa, who you just saw in
Ooh.
this Super Bowl.
Yep.
Chris Jones, who you just saw in this Super Bowl.
Wow.
Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle for the Dolphins. Brian Burns, excellent for the Carolina Panthers. Josh Allen, of the Jags, the defender, and
Of course.
Chase Young, who you also saw in the Super Bowl, about some offensive players.
Yeah, offensive dudes. How about a handful of quarterbacks in Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill, some serviceable veteran dudes there at the wide receiver position. Some other serviceable veterans with Mike Evans and Odell Beckham Jr. And then still an ascending player in T. Higgins for the
Mhm.
Bengals. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep him in the fold there. And also, Casey, a handful of running backs are going to be crowding the market, dude.
Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, bro. 3 of the top of the game are all gonna be out there, and
Yeah.
these cats all got franchise this year, so it'll be interesting to see if these clubs are gonna pony up or let these dudes walk.
Yeah, Eckler for the Chargers. Not that I mean, he's coming off not a great season, but
Mm-mm.
the two prior to that, fantastic seasons. Still has to have something left in the tank. Eckler's a free agent as well as Josh Kelly, the other Chargers back. So,
And
whew,
Derrick Henry, the king.
oh, I mean, my goodness, it is outrageous how many of these guys are going to be out there and competing against each other. In particular, the running back position is saturated, and the numbers are going to be a little tough for those running backs to swallow. Casey, one other thing I want to throw out there: UFL football, baby. It's the XFL versus the USFL. I believe it starts in 7 weeks, maybe something
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
March 30th or something.
Yeah, something like that. So look for that on your calendars, folks. You don't want to miss the kickoff of the UFL, the all new dominant preeminent spring league.
And the dudes will have you locked on all that stuff as well as free agency. So there's never time to leave the show. Like and subscribe right now to the Trend Zone, and you will get all of that sweet, sweet coverage.
Okay, so let's get to that sweet coverage of Super Bowl 58. The game won by the Chiefs 25-22 in overtime. One of the best Super Bowls we've seen, especially as it got closer and closer
Yeah.
to the end and more tense and then into overtime. Uh, what a great game. Started off, felt like the Niners had a good thing going there early.
Yeah, they're driving right down the field and they get Chiefs territory and Christian McCaffrey fumbles the ball. I don't remember the last time I saw him fumble, and we ended
Yeah.
up getting out of the first quarter scoreless. It wasn't until we got a 55-yard Moody field goal, Super Bowl record, put the Niners up 3-0. Not a lot coming out of KC, and then a huge play to McCall Hardman. You got a first and goal for the Chiefs, Dave. They're going to punch this thing right in.
Yeah, and speaking of a guy that you don't see fumble that often, Pacheco runs like a maniac, fumbles that ball inside the 10, and fizzles out their best opportunity to put points in the board. They could have taken the lead right then, but they
Yeah.
unable to do so.
And then San Francisco, a couple punts back and forth. They come down the field. Shanny's in his bag early. Jawan Jennings, the double pass. Christian McCaffrey, 74. The lineman for the Niners gets a huge block
Oh yeah.
on Bolton, springs that thing open. It's a touchdown. David's 10-3. The Chiefs, 10-0. Chiefs finally get it going at a field goal right before the half. It's 10-3. But this thing should have been a blowout by that
Right.
point
We
in time.
we we felt like, man, they have really lost an opportunity the Niners had to
Yeah.
really get a larger lead than 7 points. And it was awesome to see, like you said, Shanny into his bag of tricks there because we knew both of these coaches were going to come up with something or another here or there along the way. And this was the first one that really came out to us as like, hey, that's a cool play, man. And it worked to a T, like you said. Nice execution there with the blocking that let
Yeah.
McCaffrey get loose there. But in a lot of ways, it felt like okay, they're dominating, and they're holding the Chiefs to just 3. It's 10-3 though.
Yeah.
Then
Just
the
a score.
second half got going. What happened? The Chiefs.
Chiefs coming out. They got the ball first. We're like, okay, this is when they tie it up. Wrong. Patrick Mahomes with his first interception of the postseason. Brown picks him off at the Kansas City 44. But Dave, as has been the story all year, that Kansas City defense came
Man,
up big, came up even bigger after that interception and
Yeah,
all day
I mean,
long in the
right
Super Bowl.
there, they're at the 44. You're thinking, okay, this is where a touchdown or even a field goal really can give them some breathing space there. But a touchdown would have been, ooh, that really pushes that lead. Instead, they end up having to punt. Both teams punt back and forth a little
Mhm.
bit. Um, and then Butker nails a field goal. Next thing you know, here we are. It's 10-6 and 5 minutes left in the game,
Yeah, and Kansas City
or in the
still
third
not
quarter.
able
Excuse me.
Kansas City still not able to get the ball into the end zone. You know, San Francisco defense has been playing great. Kansas City defense has been playing great.
Yeah.
Kansas City had to get a break, and they finally did.
Ugh, the break came in a special teams mistake. They fumbled punt. The ball hits special teamer blocking, hits him in the foot. Luter and Ray McLeod. You know, he's screaming, "Get away!" Whatever it is, fire, poison, and it just didn't work. And next thing you know, he sees it hit his dude, so he's got to fall on it, and he's
Yeah.
unable to. He's look like he was trying to scoop it. I don't know.
Dive on that.
Possession is 100% the most important thing at that point, and he was unable to get the possession. Kansas City with the ball on the San Francisco 16-yard line in business, baby.
Yeah, very next play, MVS with the touchdown. And what a turnaround for this guy in the postseason. Had some huge drops in the regular season, but made huge plays against Miami, huge plays against the Bills, huge plays against the Ravens, and then gets Kansas City's first touchdown of the Super Bowl. And they should have been dominated, but here we are, third quarter almost over, and Kansas City is up 13-10.
MVS in the NFL in the SB. Fourth quarter, Casey, I'll tell you, it was a shocker at that point. It felt like a gut punch that the Chiefs had the lead and we're just rounding our way into the fourth quarter there. But it was a nice response. San Francisco drives down there, gets the ball down at the 10. Purdy hits Jennings, touchdown. Nice effort on Jennings' part. Now he's got the pass that he threw in on the trick play and the reception. He's on his way to a potential Super Bowl MVP. Oh, guess what? Everybody's celebrating. Extra point, no good. This thing was blocked, but it looked like it didn't even have a chance, anyways. I mean, it was a knuckler that was just sort of like
Mhm.
right, it found the defensive guy's hand, and unfortunately, instead of a 4-point lead for the Niners there, they're up only by 3, 16-13, with just a little over 11 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, dude. And then Kansas City comes down, gets that thing tied with a Butker field goal. Both the kickers, besides the missed extra point, were
Unreal.
awesome in this. Both
Yeah.
blasting for 50, setting 2 Super Bowl records for the longest field goals. Then the Niners come back down. They get a field goal to go up 19-16, minute 53 left. This thing is over.
Not so fast.
That's plenty of time. All we need is
Yeah.
13 seconds.
Yeah. Of course, they get themselves in position. Bucker nails another long field goal, and we are looking at a 19-19 game. We are looking at overtime. Casey, at this point, obviously it's anybody's game, but dang it, you just knew Patrick Mahomes
You
and the
knew.
Chiefs had an edge, didn't they?
We knew, yeah. Shockingly, Shanny decides to take the ball
Yeah.
first. San Francisco driving down. We'll talk about this in a minute. The second of a huge 3rd and 4 that the Chiefs got the stop on. Chris Jones, we talked about him leading up. You knew he
Forced a
had at
bad
least
pass.
one disruptive play was going to change the game. It came on a huge 3rd down. And then, there's some second guessing, of course, whenever the game goes that way. San Fran decided to kick a field goal right there instead of going for it on 4th and 4. They get the field goal, and you knew it was over from that point on.
Yeah.
We all knew. I
That was
don't
the
know
good
if
news.
yeah.
The bad news was the game was not over, and that Mahomes and company were going to do. And you do know what it comes down to? Just when the Chiefs need to have it, Mahomes finds a way to get it. And there was a 4th and 1 on that final drive there, down by 3. They know they've got a 3 to win it, and if they can't get it, they have to go for it on 4th no matter what.
Yeah.
And if they get into field goal range now, it's just the gravy. How can you win it, right? And converts a 4th and 1, Mahomes with his feet. Then a couple of plays later, it's an 18-yard scramble, and next thing you know, they're not only in field goal range, they're at the 13-yard line, dude.
Yeah, and we were 3 seconds away from the second overtime, but Mahomes said, "You know what? I have to get to Disneyland tomorrow, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit McCole Hardman for the game winner, 25-22. The Chiefs win in overtime, and these guys, man, when you gotta get the money, they go and they get the money.
Yeah, and
Impressive,
that
dude.
last call, the play to McCall Hardman there, really a well-designed play. It's one of those down by the goal line, we think we can score on this play like 90% of the time plays for Andy Reid. They send him in motion to the left, snap it, and he cuts back the other way.
Mhm.
Just as the DB takes his eyes off of him, kind of refocuses on his new dude who he's picking up, and it just frees up Hardman for an easy score in the flat. Um, yeah, and yeah,
You could
good
see
old Hardman.
Kelsey knew that it was a touchdown because he did nothing. He knew when that defender stuck with him that he
Yeah,
didn't even
it
look.
was over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I talked about those 2 huge third downs, dude. Fourth quarter, San Francisco, 3rd and 4. The Chiefs get the stop. They forced a field goal. That makes the game 19-16 instead of adding a touchdown right there. They get the stop. And then in overtime, I mentioned it. San Francisco, 3rd and goal from the 4. Kansas City gets another stop, forcing the field goal. And those 2 huge plays and the fumbled punt, those 2 stops, I think, were the biggest plays in the game for me. And that Chiefs defense, they rebuilt that thing, dude, this last couple of years. It's
yeah.
so
It's
impressive
the
to see.
youngest defense in the league, I believe, at this point right now.
Yeah,
So
and McDuffie's one of the best DBs in the league. We saw him lock down Debo, Karlaftis getting after it,
yeah,
Bolton. All these young guys are making play after play for this defense, and Spags, dude, had it dialed up, man. What a
yeah. And we
great.
know one thing: if you're playing the Chiefs and you're settling for field goals or whatever you want to call it, they're holding you to field goals. That's not going to bode well in the long run.
No,
You need
that's a
7,
loss.
not 3s. That's how that spells a loss in the Super Bowl for this Niners team, not converting, not capitalizing on all of those opportunities when they had advantages. They needed to find a way to put those points on the board, whether it was settling for threes like that or just really, like we talked about early, dominating the early portion of the game. And there they are at 0-0. They've got all of the stats filled up except for
Mhm.
one of them, and it's the points.
Yeah, and they needed to run the football more. The
Yeah.
little production they got in the second half was when they had more running plays. Their second half possessions after the interception, 3 pass plays and a punt. Next possession, 3 pass plays and a punt. Next possession, 1 run, 2 passes, punt. Next possession, 5 runs. They score a touchdown. Next possession, 3 runs, they get a field goal. And in overtime, 5 runs, and they got a field goal. So when they kept running, they at least got points out of
Yeah.
those possessions. When they got pass happy, it resulted in punts. Kansas City's final 3 scoring drives, 12 plays, 69 yards for the field goal. 11 plays, 64 yards for a field goal, including 4 or 5 on third down. And then in overtime, 13 plays, 75 yards, and a touchdown for those Chiefs, dude.
Well,
But
and also on the defensive side, you have to give again credit to Spags and what he did adjustment wise, because
mm,
early on in the game, those runs were for 5 yards, 6 yards, whatever. They were popping big runs
yeah,
in the first quarter. That kind of went away a little bit in the second quarter, and then, like you said, they just went away from the run. But part of it was because the Chiefs were forcing them away from the run
yeah,
by not giving up many yards through on the ground, and so it became more of a challenge. It's great. The idea of running the football is awesome when you're actually gaining yards and you're getting yourself into 2nd and 3 and 2nd and
yeah,
4 and 3rd and 1. But when you're getting 1 yard on that first carry, now you're setting yourself up for a 3rd and long. And the Chiefs were, that's where they thrive
yeah.
defensively. So um, just a great job defensively by Spagnola and getting those guys to make those adjustments uh, from the beginning of the game as the game unfolded, taking away what the 49ers were able to do early.
Yeah, and the Niners had a huge time of possession advantage early on, like
Yeah,
15 minutes or something.
that almost
That leveled
entirely went
out.
away.
Yeah, it got pretty even there. And dude, the Chiefs, man, they've in their 3 Super Bowl wins, they've been down by double digits. In the fourth quarter and overtime, they're a plus 30 in those Super Bowls. They scored on 9 of 9 drives in the fourth quarter and overtime in those 3 Super Bowl wins, including scoring on their final 4 drives of Super Bowl 58 to tie the game, and then to take the lead in overtime, man.
Wow. Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean, that's what we said it in the last week's preview game. If you're going to beat the Chiefs, you have to be several scores in front of them
Yeah.
late. You know, you have to beat them the entire game until the clock hits zero, and then obviously into overtime, as we see in this one here. It was almost second overtime we're approaching there, and yeah, I mean the Chiefs get better as the game goes on. Especially when the chips are, when everything really, really counts, that's when Mahomes just makes things happen. That's when his legs come together. I mean, several important runs in that second drive. In fact, I think Mahomes was the leading
He
rusher
was. Yeah.
for the Chiefs. They really didn't have a lot on the ground going.
No.
He selectively ran and picked up some first downs there. And on that last drive, it was a backbreaker. I thought, when he busted, we're at like the 32. Next thing you know, they're at the 13. Now it's not just a field goal. It's
Yeah.
it's you're panicking on the defense for the Niners.
And then everybody's second guessing Shanahan's decision to take the ball first. Hindsight's 2020. But the thing that I took out of this is the Niner players you heard didn't know what the situation was. The
Hmm.
Chiefs players that you heard from said, "We have been running this scenario for the last 2 weeks. It had been
Yeah,
the other situation. They were going to go for 2 instead of trying to tie it up." So they had a plan in place. Maybe the Niners did, and the team wasn't privy to it. But it looks like Big Red and that coaching staff had yet another advantage over Shanahan's crew. So
yeah. I mean, exactly. If it's tied after both teams have possession, then the Niners would have had the advantage at that
mhm,
point, knowing that all they need to do is score anything at all and win the game. But as it turned out, they didn't know that they had to go for it on third or fourth and four. They
yeah,
were pretty close to the end zone. They settled for three, the Niners did on their first drive, because they didn't know they had to go for
that's right.
for a touchdown. Had they been second, they would have known they had to go for a touchdown there, and of course, then you're not going to kick a field goal. So going second was very advantageous, as it turned out, for the
Yeah,
Chiefs. And I think more times than not, that's the position you want to be, and you want to know
absolutely.
whether or not you have to go for it on every fourth down. And the Chiefs did go for it on fourth down
Yeah.
on that final game-winning drive. So
And
um,
to Shanahan's defense, besides the muffed punt where they took over inside the 20, that's the only touchdown the Chiefs offense has scored. The Niners had held them to just field goals and long field goals, and come up
mhm,
with the big Pacheco fumble. So they had been playing solid. So I
yeah,
understand the thought process there. It just didn't work out. And as we know, if there's one possession left, you better be up by 9 or more points on the Chiefs. And dude, one other bummer for these Niners, Dre Greenlaw, losing him with that
oh
Achilles,
yeah,
not even play related. That guy was all over the field early on, and now
yeah.
he's going to miss all next year. It's so brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the medicine these days is better than it's ever been, but in all likelihood, I mean, he'll be lucky to get on the field in the regular season next year. That's just an absolute shame.
Yeah, there was lots of medicine going around at the football dude Super Bowl party.
There sure was.
Ow!
Hello. All right, folks. That's going to do it. So many ways you can check out the Football Dudes Trend Zone, available on subscription, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Instagram and Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Football Dudes LA, and make sure you tag us across all social media platforms.
Yep, or just go to footballdudes.com. It's all there for you. That is going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone. We're not the suits that talk football, we're the dudes that know football. For Casey, I'm Dave, and we are out of here.